Imagine being 6 years old. You can't sit still, your thoughts race faster than you can speak, and you get in trouble for being too much. Instead of the adults around you trying to understand what's going on in your brain, they hand you a pill. This is the reality for millions of children and teens diagnosed with ADHD, otherwise known as Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. What if I told you that we've been misunderstanding ADHD entirely, that the problem isn't the disorder itself, but the way that we've been treating it? Today, I want to challenge a widespread belief that ADHD is purely a psychiatric disorder with no neurological components and should be treated with stimulants and amphetamines like Adderall. In reality, ADHD is better understood as a neurodevelopmental disorder, similarly to autism spectrum disorder. If we shift our approach with ADHD the same way that we have with autism, from medicating to accommodating, we can give people with ADHD a better chance to thrive. Let's start with the science. Studies suggest that people with ADHD often have differences in their prefrontal cortex. It's right here, this part of the brain. The prefrontal cortex is the area of the brain responsible for focus, organization, and impulse control. In essence, ADHD isn't about bad behavior. It's about a difference in brain wiring. So why do we treat ADHD as if all it is a dopamine deficiency, instead of a developmental difference in the prefrontal cortex? When someone is diagnosed with autism, we don't reach for a pill first. Now that physicians have the proper knowledge about autism spectrum disorder, they know to ask how they can support them. Why don't we offer the same grace to individuals with ADHD? What is the most common treatment for ADHD, even in children? Adderall. Adderall creates an immediate flood of dopamine to the brain in similar ways that methamphetamine does. Adderall creates an immediate yet temporary fix. Its use can lead to tolerance, dependency, and even misuse. Adderall, similarly to crystal meth, activates the brain's reward system with powerful spikes. This is why it has potential for abuse. This is not just theoretical. This actually happens. Children and adolescents who are prescribed Adderall may gain a tolerance and then start seeking a stronger high. If Adderall is so chemically similar to meth and acts so similarly in our brains, why are we giving it to people, let alone children? But this doesn't mean that medication's off the table. There are lots of safer alternatives out there for individuals with ADHD that are not amphetamines or stimulants. One of them is called bupropion, under the brand Wellbutrin. Wellbutrin is an NDRI. Now, I'm sure lots of you have heard of SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. These are known as typical antidepressants, where NDRI is an atypical antidepressant. It is a norepinephrine dopamine reuptake inhibitor. People with ADHD have been shown to not have as much norepinephrine or dopamine available in their prefrontal cortex. Wellbutrin is a safe way for them to get norepinephrine and dopamine without it being immediate, without building tolerance, and without the risk of potential misuse. No addictive highs and no euphoric crashes. Taking a drug like Wellbutrin along with cognitive behavioral therapy, executive functioning coaching, parent training, not only is a safer route to treat ADHD, but is also likely a more effective route. You may be asking, why haven't we been doing this? Why are psychiatrists still prescribing Adderall? It really comes down to two answers. One is not educating yourself and staying up to date with new ADHD research. And two is, it's easy. And Adderall makes the most money. This is usually because people get addicted. Let's talk about why we need an ADHD spectrum and a spectrum approach. Think of ADHD and autism as points on the same spectrum. They overlap in executive dysfunction, social issues, and sensory issues. But autism, now that people are educated on it, is treated with school accommodations and care plans, while people with ADHD are told to take their meds and try harder. Meds that won't even work on them forever. Imagine how much more effective ADHD treatment would be if we stopped asking, how can we control your symptoms, and instead asked, what does this person need to succeed? Even the American Academy of Pediatrics is now emphasizing that behavioral therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy should be the first line of treatment with children with ADHD, while medication is reserved for cases that do not respond to these behavioral therapy interventions, or to even get a kickstart to these behavioral therapies. This recommendation aligns with the growing recognition that ADHD is not simply a disorder of impulsivity and inattention, but a complex condition that requires individualized treatment, just like autism spectrum disorder. In the past few years, we've also seen a huge spike in ADHD diagnosis. Some say this is because more people are educated on the disorder and its symptoms. Some say it's an increasing societal pressure to conform to specific behavioral expectations. It's likely a mix of both. Either way, a lot more people are being diagnosed with ADHD, whether they truly have it or not, meaning a lot more people are going to be prescribed Adderall. And a lot of those people may not even need it. Even individuals who do truly have ADHD Regardless of where people fall on the ADHD spectrum, they are prescribed the same amount of Adderall. This is due to the spectrum not yet being a part of the DSM. But remind you, autism wasn't always on a spectrum either in the DSM. It wasn't until the most recent DSM edition, the DSM-5, that the autism spectrum disorder was added in there. Before that, autism spectrum disorder was being treated extremely wrong in the same way that ADHD is being treated wrong right now. We need to rethink ADHD. Not as a disorder to medicate right away, but as a neurodevelopmental condition that needs personalized care. Let's move away from one-size-fits-all stimulant prescriptions and toward flexible treatment plans, offering tools and not just tablets. Because at the end of the day, kids with ADHD are not broken. Teens with ADHD aren't lazy. Adults with ADHD aren't failing. Their brains are working differently. That difference deserves understanding, not just diagnosis. If we can embrace ADHD for what it really is, a complex neurological human condition, we can build a world that doesn't just medicate this difference, but celebrates it. It's time to stop asking, how do we fix ADHD? Start asking, how do we help people with ADHD live full, empowered lives? Thank you.